Hello YouTube. About several months ago, I did a video on a Gene Cafe coffee roaster that I had just gotten and showed you how it worked and that sort of thing. And wanted to bring you up to date. It's been about 6 months of my using this, and wanted to let you know what I thought of it and would I do it again as far as buying one, and then kind of the process that I go through to roast my coffee. But when I got it, I was learning how to roast coffee. I had, and I'm not an expert by any means, even by now. But what I've been doing is I've been ordering green beans from Berman and from another company down in Louisiana. And what I'll do is I'll get some green beans. They'll typically be, I've ordered a lot of Costa Rican and Panama, Central American, some from Peru, some African coffees, and then some of the South Asia or the Oceania sort of coffees of Guinea and New Guinea and that sort of thing. But as I roast it, what I'll do is I'll roast about once a week. I'll roast one evening, and roasting typically takes about 30 minutes or so. I'll roast for about 15 minutes and then cool for about 10 minutes, and then I grind it pretty soon after I roast it, after it cools off. A lot of people will grind every day, but I'll grind once and then I'll make my coffee as I go. But I'll do that. I do have scales behind me. I weigh out. I'll grind usually about 8 ounces of coffee. When I grind 8 ounces, I'll roast 8 ounces. And when I roast 8 ounces, what I'll end up with is about 7.2 ounces or something after it roasts, when all the moisture's cooked out of it. But as I roast it, it ends up being that we've had some of the best coffee we've really had by roasting our own, and that's really been the benefit. We'll have some coffee and we'll compare it to our own and say, this just isn't that good, or it's not so good, or whatever. And what we've been doing is playing with our formula for the roast, or the profile, and trying to figure out how we can make the best coffee for us. It might not be the best coffee for everybody, but it's been the best coffee for us. And what we like is we like a coffee with some body to it, but also with kind of a mild backside, so where the bitterness in the back of your mouth just really isn't there. And then we've achieved that, which is, it's been nice to do. We did have some trouble trying to figure out decaf coffees. The first batch of decaf that I made was just tasteless. It really hadn't been roasted enough and to complete develop its profile of flavors. And so we ended up playing with that a pretty good bit to try to figure out what worked for decaf. And the last batch of decaf was probably the best I've ever done. In fact, I would compare it to some caffeinated coffees just because it was just that good. So you can play with it, and that's been part of the fun of it, is playing with the machine, figuring out what works and what doesn't work. The other part of it is having really good coffee that you can have. I've enjoyed sharing it with friends and family, and that's just been a fun thing to do. A couple of the negatives, or the things that you need to be conscious of, that when you roast coffee with this machine, and really with any machine, you can't just set it and forget it. You have to be there, and that's a safety feature. In this machine, it has a safety feature where usually after it's been roasting for about 4 minutes, it will beep, and the beep says you need to respond to the beep by pushing a button. If you don't respond, then what it says to itself is that this machine's unattended, so I'm going to shut down, because if it's unattended, it's not going to be safe. And the safety factor there is that if it should ever catch fire, because we're roasting at 450 degrees, but if it should ever catch fire, then somebody's there to attend to that, rather than burning your building down. So that's a good feature, but it's one that really won't let you just set it and forget it or go do something else. So that's why it takes about 30 minutes of your time sitting there and monitoring it. Now, once it starts into the cooling stage, you can leave and go do whatever you want to do and let it cool on its own. I do like to be there when it cools, because after it cools in the machine, I like to take it out and put it in a cool metal skillet and then let it cool a little bit more before I'll grind it, so that it's fully cooled. But that's one thing. The other thing is it does get a little smoky. I empty my chaff. This is a chaff collector right here, and I empty the chaff after every roast, trying to make sure that it's safe. But even with that, it gets a little smoky, and that towards the end of your roast, especially when it starts into the cooling mode and blows a little bit more air in there, it gets smoky. And right now I'm upstairs in the shop, so this is where I'll roast. But it gets to where we have a little haze layer of smoke. I do want to rig something to the outside, probably through this window with a fireproof sort of panel, and put some metal pipe going to the outside so that it'll vent to the outside. It's not enough heat like a fireplace would be to where it's too much of a fire danger as far as an insulated pipe, but it is enough heat to where you need to be conscious of it so that you don't put it through a flammable sort of surface or whatever. But as far as the machine goes, would I do it again? This machine's $500 or so, more than 500. Yeah, I'd buy it again, and the reason is because our coffee is just that good. And we like coffee a lot. But if you like coffee, I recommend it. Its ease of operation is really good. I've roasted over 100 batches in it now, and it's been pretty good to do. But ease of operation, compact sort of machine, one that is somewhat idiot-proof. But the one thing it doesn't do is, and I've been reading up on more complicated machines, is it doesn't allow you variation of your profile as much as some machines would do. And that would be something, if you got into higher level sort of roasting, that you might want to play with a different machine that'll allow you to roast at a different profile. But that's my assessment. I've really enjoyed it. I would recommend it if you like coffee. But the Gene Cafe, I believe it's made in South Korea, but it's a good product, and I've really appreciated and enjoyed using it. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, subscribe. I'm making a lot of different sort of videos, everything from history to natural history to nature walks and construction sort of things. So I hope you enjoy that. It's our life, and it's a variety of things going on. So that's the way it is. But subscribe, and then like the little thing on the YouTube, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.